So him and the girl fell in love, Owen and the girl, and then Hudson fucked the girl and sent Owen the pictures. I said, well, damn. So Owen went down like this destructive path. He just went back to screwing anything that would move, and he wound up contracting HIV. So they were kind of talking about they've done some stuff. So the next day she goes to the Sky Launch. She has a meeting with the party planner. The party planner's name is Julia, and Julia owns this company. And so they're talking. She's showing her everything. The woman likes her ideas, and she's going to get a proposal together for her. And, it's going pretty good. And then she was on the phone with someone, and she said, yeah, babe, I'm inside. Come on inside. Well, in walks Paul Kresh. Yes, the guy that that has a restraining order against her. So she's freaking out because she's not supposed. The restraining order, I think, still has like 2 or 3 years left. So she's not supposed to be around this man. So she's spazzing out because she's violated it once. The next time her ass going to jail. So she's terrified. So Julia Paul played it off. He was just kind of like, oh, hi, nice to meet you. So she played along with what he did, which was acting like he didn't know her. Well, Julia goes to the bathroom, and while she's there, she starts explaining. She's like, I did not know you worked for them. I didn't know you were a party planner. I thought you were an accountant. And he's like, no, you're cool. It's not that. I'm not a party planner, but, I'm working, I'm helping her with the business. I'm still an accountant, but I signed on to her board, so I have like more of a role. And she's like, oh, and he's like, but this is a big deal for her because this is a deal with like Hudson Pierce Industries. So it's a huge deal. It could really change the game for her because she's trying to expand her business. And so he's like, we will play this game like we don't know each other, and that'll be that, And so she didn't want to agree, but she did. So while they're there, Celia walks in. Celia goes, oh, hi, I've been trying to call you. I thought we were going to meet up for coffee. And so she can tell that there's tension going on here, but she doesn't know why. So then Julia comes out of the restroom, and she knows Celia because she had done a event for Celia's mother. And so they talked for a little bit, and then Celia and Elena, they go to the coffee shop or a little lunch place, the coffee shop, and talk. And so, of course, Elena tells her everything. Again, stupid. So, after that, she goes back to the club. She keeps working. Hudson calls her, wants to see her now. So they, of course, have this like freaky text exchange. And then before he picks her up from the club, he takes her, that's what they were doing before he picked her up. Then he takes her to an event at, like some botanical gardens. It's a charity event for foster kids that he's donated like a whole school to this cause. And so, he takes her around, meets a couple of people. One of the guys is, Aaron Trent, who he's over like a marketing company. And so they set up an appointment to kind of work something out to get some business going. So Elena walks off, and she's just kind of viewing the gardens, and she overhears some guys talking about Plexus, which is the company that Hudson had lost because they had sold it. The board agreed to sell it. Well, she overhears these guys talking, and they're like, yeah, we're thinking we're just going to like sell it off in pieces and, do it that way. Which, of course, is what, Hudson didn't want. But it doesn't own it anymore. And then another guy says, well, but if the price is right, we might just sell the whole thing. So, of course, she runs back to go tell Hudson this information, like you could still make a play for it, they're willing to sell it. And he's kind of like, who did you hear talking? And she points out the people that she heard, that she saw talking. So then Norma, a woman named Norma, walks up, and he introduces her. Elena, this is Norma. Norma, this is Elena, my girlfriend. Norma looks slightly disappointed, and of course, Elena picks up on that and is like, well, who is this? First of all, she doesn't like when he's on a first name basis with people. So, because everybody starts thinking, did he sleep with her? But Norma works for him. So she's like, maybe he didn't sleep with her. She's like, or maybe he slept with her after he'd been to therapy. She was just trying to figure out what this deal was with this woman. She's extremely possessive. So they have a conversation, and Norma pretty much was like, oh, I'm glad, you're not with Celia, because she was sneaky and she was fake. And yeah, she went in on little Celia. So they're about to leave the party. Actually, no, they started, he gets hard quickly. So they kind of went off in the cut to kind of like fool around. And then a woman comes over and is like, hey, no one's supposed to be over here. And then the lady realizes it's Hudson, and this is his event. So she's like, oh my gosh, Mr. Pierce, I'm so sorry. And it's Julia. So Elena knows, well, if Julia's here, then Paul has got to be here somewhere. So she's like, oh God, we got to get out of here. So she starts scanning, looking for Paul. So she tells Hudson, I have to go to the restroom. And she spots Paul. And their whole interaction to me was just, it was pitiful. Because she's getting upset with Paul because he's there. And then he flips it on her. And then all of a sudden now she's victim. No, this dude has a whole restraining order against you. Okay. You shouldn't have even approached him. If you all had already worked out the details of, okay, we'll do the deal, but they weren't going to have to be around each other, because he doesn't really deal with like the day-to-day stuff like that. She was going to fully more so be dealing with Julia. So if you had already worked this out, what was your purpose in saying something to him? Because now you've pissed him off because you're playing victim, and now he's mad because he's like, how are you the victim? I'm the one that has a restraining order against you. He's like, as a matter of fact, I could make your life a living hell, because I could say that you sought me out, that you found out that I worked with this company and you hired us, or you brought us in for a meeting to try and get next to me. Then she got real scared. And I'm like, yeah, but you brought that on yourself because you were stupid. I didn't even feel bad for her because that was her fault. So the next morning, while she's at Hudson's place, she tells him, I got to go home. I got to get some more clothes. And he kind of stiffens up. And then he asks her to he's like, well, why not just move in? And so she doesn't say yes. Because she still wants to try and take it slow. I don't know what she thinks slow is with this man, with this intensity that she has for him and the way they are with each other. I'm like, slow where, boo? No. But in her brain, she feels like that, it is a major step. So, I get it. But it's like you're already running 100 miles an hour. Go 105. What's the point, So she doesn't agree. Hudson doesn't really like that she's not agreeing. So then she calls Celia for a lunch date. And while they're having lunch, she asks her about Norma. And, Celia's like, oh, no, I don't think he's ever slept with her. I don't think she's attracted. She wants him, but they never did anything. So then Celia asks to use her phone, because she's like, my phone's been having issues and stuff. So she takes her phone, she calls some number, and it doesn't go through. So then Elena doesn't think twice about this. And I'm like, okay, here we go, miss. Overthinking, but you don't think about that. But okay. So she told Celia about her meeting with Aaron Trent. And when she told Celia that she had a meeting with Aaron Trent, Celia's eyes popped open. Like, oh, really? She's like, oh, that's amazing. But then she's like, oh, that sucks. You have to do it on a Friday night, you know? So then Elena also tells her that, you know, Hudson doesn't really want us to, you know, form a friendship. And Celia was like, yeah, he gets like that. So we just won't tell him about it because he's just going to overreact. Now, that alone tells me, okay, something's up. That's where I was like, her paranoia. This is when I'm like, she just irked me. So she goes to the club and she finds out that Aaron Trent canceled the meeting, needs to reschedule. She wasn't upset about it because she was like, that's cool. She could spend her night with Hudson. And so when Hudson comes to pick her up, she lets him know about what happened with Aaron Trent. And Hudson got pissed because he's like, oh, no, he doesn't, you know, that's unacceptable, you know. But she was like, no, it's okay. So then Elena was like, you know, it's good because then I just get to spend the evening with you. He stiffens up. So then she's like, well, what's going on? Finally, he admits that he's going to have dinner with his mother and the rest of the family. So then she's like, so you weren't going to tell me? And he's like, well, no, you and my mother don't get along. Why would I want to put you in that type of a predicament? And so she basically manipulates him into getting an invite. Then when she gets the invite, oh, I feel bad. I don't want you to want me to go because I made you feel bad. And I was like, you fucking bitch. I hate that. Like, because you're so psychotic with this shit, you're getting upset with him because you think it's something else going on, you know? And it's like he could have went to the dinner, came home, y'all still had a fabulous night. It's like, come on. So he's like, well, we got to get you something else to wear. So then they go to Mirabelle's. Again, I hate that name, but it's Mira's full name. So they go to her boutique and Stacy's working. So Stacy helps her put on some different looks. While they're in the dressing room together, she tells Elena, you know, you might want to watch your back. She's like, because he plays games. And she's like, what, did you two used to date? She said no. She's like, I was an escort. She's like, what do you mean escort? Like a prostitute? And she's like, no, I was his escort one evening to an event. You know, we never dated. She was like, but him and Celia, they play games and they're together. And so, of course, this has got Elena's blood boiling. She's like, you know, what proof do you have? But then Hudson comes up knocking on the door. And so they got to kind of quiet down. And so she gave her number to her. So she's like, if you want to know the truth and know more info, like, I'll give it to you. So now she has Stacy's number. And I'm like, oh, shoot. What are we going to find out? So then they leave from there. They go to the event. She walks in and she sees, you know, all of Hudson's family. And then she also sees Celia and her parents. And old girl loses it. She just storms out, goes up to the roof. So Hudson goes behind her. He's like, oh, she left something in the car. I'm like, dude, she's going to the roof. They're not buying it. So go up to the roof. She freaks out. She's like, why is Celia here? You knew she was going to be here. That's why you didn't tell me. You said family only. He's like, the Warners, you know, they are like family. They've known my, you know, family since forever. She's like, no, that's not what this is. She's like, this is a game. Well, she couldn't tell him that she had seen Celia earlier that day, and Celia didn't say anything about this dinner, because then she would be telling on herself that she was meeting with Celia and she's not supposed to, because they had come to an agreement, right? So then he, of course, kept, you know, trying to, you know, reaffirm to her, nothing's going on with Celia. I don't want Celia. And so then, of course, you know, again, whenever they have arguments, you know, it gets it boiling even more so. And then he wants to fuck. So he grabs her And they start kissing, and he fucks her, and he comes inside of her. He's like, now when we sit to the table, they gonna smell you on me and me on you. I say, well, damn, okay.